Starting off with the helmet, it's a gyro weighing in at 13.9 ounces. I've been carrying this around since 2014. It's worked fine up until this point, and I guess there'd be no real reason of changing it other than if I wanted to go a little lighter or a different style. Has a GoPro mount on the top to get some of those shots, get some of those downhill shots. It's been a quality, trustworthy helmet for years, and still good. For the handlebar bag, I went, with a classic Ortlieb waterproof bag. This one's a little bit deluxe. It has some side mesh pockets on there to hold whatever you might want to put in there. In the side, I generally kept a pocket knife. This is a Petzl. It's plastic, super light, weighs 3 ounces. In those mesh pockets, I basically just carried a pocket knife. I had some spare change, I'd put it in there. A hand sanitizer, and my forms of protection is just a simple pepper spray. I've been carrying this around for years. I hope it still works. And this ridiculous air horn, which I never used, but I figured maybe I could use the air horn before I went to the pepper spray. I don't really want to hurt any animals, and I know that instinctually dogs are just chasing you, just to have some fun or whatever. Never use it. And inside, I just threw whatever in there. Maps, I got my gloves there, and my helmet liner, or my little bike cap. Yeah, I just threw it right in there, and it just holds, it'll hold whatever you want to put in there. I'd put my phone in there and my identification. But yeah. Moving on to the Revelate Designs feed bags. I carry these on my handlebars, and these just work out really great. Tons of pockets on them. So the one on the right, I basically just carried food in, granola bars and small things like that. The one on the left is where I carried my fork, just a hydration bladder for filtering water with my Sawyer water filter. Just fill that up in the stream. And I took all the plastic parts off that you don't need just to save a couple grams, I guess. Bike lube, and just small things that would fit in there. I actually got my stove right here in the front, the little BRS 3000T. But it worked out fine. So I had this stuff out on the bike at all times. I never put it away. These are things I'm not too worried about getting wet. These are a bit waterproof up until a certain extent. So yeah, guys, that's my water system. The C-Knock Outdoors. It's kind of rubberized. In my opinion, the Sawyer bags that come with this are garbage. In a week, the seams start to split, and they're just not good. I just discard those completely. I don't use them at all. This is my 4th Sawyer. They're fantastic. You don't want to leave these out in the cold. If it's going to freeze on you at night, you better put this in your sleeping bag with you. That was a problem I had. I let my Sawyer freeze in West Virginia, and I got some bad water, which caught up to me in Indiana, I believe.
Puking.
Yep, that's the water setup, and that's it. Moving on to the kitchen department. This is the full kitchen setup. I have just a Sea to Summit fork. I have a 750 milliliter Tokes cook pot weighing in at 3.7 ounces, and that's just a 7-ounce can of fuel. And my stove is the BRS 3000T, weighing in at 27 grams. It doesn't even weigh an ounce. In my opinion, this is the absolute lightest setup you can get, other than if you can get a 3-ounce can of fuel. That would be a little bit lighter. The tent is the REI Flash Air 1, weighing in at 1.6 ounces. If you decided to not use the pole and you used a trek pole if you were backpacking, it would weigh in at 1.4 ounces. I feel that it's just extremely light, and for 250 bucks, worked out well. I spent about 60 nights in it. It's an okay tent. I'll definitely use it again. I plan on doing a full review on the tent. I kind of love-hate it. But that's what I carried, and I was going with it the whole way. And for a sleeping pad, I decided to go with the Thermarest Neo Air X Lite, weighing in at 12.7 ounces. For half of the trip, I didn't use a sleeping pad at all. When I got to Pueblo, Colorado, I decided to, pick up a sleeping pad. I didn't really know what to expect in the Rockies. I saw some snow up on the peaks, and I knew that I had several passes to go over. I also wanted to spend a lot of time there, so I figured why not pick up this Thermarest. It was a bit of an investment. It wasn't cheap. I figured I'd try it out since I've tried out some other inflatable mattresses. But yeah, worked out well. For the ground tarp, I went with the Gossamer Gear Polycro ground tarp, weighing in at 1.6 ounces. For years I carried Tyvek. I just figured that was the lightest thing out there until I bumped into this stuff. It lasted the whole trip. I camped I camped on every kind of terrain you could think of, in ice and snow, desert, wind. This thing stood the test of time. It's pretty messed up. I went ahead and ordered another set, brand new. Comes in a 2-pack. An easy way to shave some ounces off of your sleep system. Yeah, I'll definitely be using this again. Bike tools. I don't know. I got a bag of just your standard kind of stuff, guys. There's a chain tool in there, a tube tire tool, just a mix of Allen head wrenches, some zip ties, some patches, a little bit of wire in there just in case I break a chain or need to make any other repair, a little bit of electrical wire, spare tube, one spare tube, and just a Walmart air pump. I started off with a tiny Leatherman, the Gerber dime, which immediately broke. I was trying to find another one, but I broke down in Missouri and just bought this Walmart Ozark Trail Leatherman, which weighs in at 7.9 ounces, which is super heavy in my opinion. But later on in the trip, I was able to find this Leatherman out on the highway, and it works great. This weighs in at 5.2 ounces. So I'll probably be using this in the future, really. I'm pretty happy with that. I should have went with this in the first place, but oh well. So not really much on the bike repair end, but that's what I carried.
As far as bike lights go, I just went for this, the Schwinn 2-pack. Just takes a few flat batteries, and yeah, nothing special really. Bike lock, I just went for a Walmart Bell cable lock. It was light, it was small. I don't even really use these. I'm pretty selective about the stores and grocery stores, gas stations, and things I stop at, and I don't really leave the bike for a long period of time. I'm always kind of watching my back and keeping an eye on it out of the window. So
my bear bag line. This is a Gossamer Gear Dynaglide 50-foot bear bag line. It has a little Sea to Summit carabiner on there. This weighs in at 1.3 ounces. And this is, much lighter than paracord that you'd find at any outfitter store or Walmart or anything like that. Once I put my paracord and my bear bag line on the scale, and I realized just how much it was, in a little carabiner. I mean, this is a tiny carabiner, and this stuff is really, really light. The only problem is it kind of tangles easy, but yeah, that's it. And I really didn't use it much out there, but I did use it in the Rockies or any mountainous area. Next up is a sleeping bag. I took it out of its stuff sack and I carried it in this REI compression sack. It is the Enlightened Equipment down quilt. It's a bit like they took out the best parts of a sleeping bag, no mummy head, and that kind of like clips around you, or it's supposed to clip around your sleeping pad. It was enough. I camped in my clothes some of the time though. I carried a black diamond headlamp. I removed the band because this piece of paracord was just a bit lighter. I was able to save a couple grams on that.
I carried a Bluetooth speaker with me, guys. This is an Outdoor Tech Buckshot Bigfoot Bluetooth speaker. It also doubles as like a phone charger, or I charged my GoPro out of this a couple times. It'll charge your phone up a few times, like really fast. The speaker is extremely loud. I got this as a gift, and I figured I'd give it a shot. And it was nice to have some music, way out in the desert or in the middle of nowhere. When my batteries were getting low, I could charge it up. So yeah, it came in handy. It's a little bit heavy, a little bit bulky, but I think it's well worth the weight. Rain gear, I went with the Z-Packs Virtus rain pants, weighing in at 2.7 ounces. These are just the lightest rain pants I think you can find. And they just performed outstanding and always kept me dry.
Park ranger was like, snowing up there.
For the raincoat, guys, I just went with my old Patagonia raincoat. I've had it for about 4 years, still good. Weighed in at 11.9 ounces, which to me is pretty heavy, and I know I can do a little bit lighter, but I've just had this thing, and it's got one more tour in it, so I figured I'd take it. Yeah, the electronics I carried on the trip, believe it or not, I had a MacBook Pro in there. This is the 13-inch. I had it in a waterproof, smell-proof bag, and a bag of 2 battery chargers in there, and just a bag of cords. I threw it in there with the maps. And yeah, I generally kept my maps in there as well, phone chargers, everything I needed to charge things up. I also used the Goal Zero Nomad 7. This charged up very well.
Got the solar array hooked up, having a Mounds bar.
One of my battery packs wasn't compatible with the Goal Zero, but the other one was. When I was around gas stations or in a park or whatever, I would charge this one up. Yeah, it worked out well. I had power pretty much every time I needed it. There were really only a couple times where I ran out of juice. I also carried a Mavic Mini. This one, unfortunately, was the one that crashed in Colorado. I went ahead and picked up another one. This one is more of a deluxe edition. It's got 3 batteries. Got 3 batteries in there with the charging dock. And a heck of a case, really. But yeah, these are pretty cool little drones, guys. Unfortunately, the big case kind of offset my Panniers a bit, but I managed the rest of the way, and everything worked out. The drone was safe, so it was worth the buy and worth the carry. So these are the classic Ortlieb front rollers. I decided not to go with the back rollers just to save a couple ounces with using the front rollers on the back rack, and it seemed to work out fine. It was tight. I gotta say, it was super tight. If something came out, something went in. It never really opened up like I thought it would, but it worked out. I carried the Sea to Summit waterproof stuff sack on the back, the top of the bike rack. Worked out very well. I carried my food in there most of the time. Every once in a while I would jam some other items in there that weren't food related. This is my second one. I ended up getting another one out there on the trip, and I started putting my clothes and stuff like that in there too, to just kind of open up some space out of the front rollers and put everything on the back. So these are great, and I'll definitely be using these for a long time and buy another one. This is an 8-liter, by the way, guys. When it came, I thought it was pretty small, but as I stuffed it, it kind of stretched out a bit, and it is like an adequate amount of space. I carried lots of food in that for many days. For a coat, I went with the Apex Torrid from Enlightened Equipment. This weighs in at 7 ounces, and it was meant to replace a Patagonia fleece I carried. The Patagonia fleece had thumb holes and like a quarter zip, and it was really nice. It just weighed like 13 ounces or so. So buying this really saved some ounces on the trip, and this is like 10 times warmer. Plus, it has a hood, which I really liked. I love throwing this little coat on, this little Apex. Enlightened Equipment, Apex Torrid. I will be using this on many tours to come, and backpacking as well, which is really what it's intended for. But for the weight, I had to go for it, and it is a little heat pump. Had just an old pair of REI hiking pants with me, which I really used as shorts. On the East Coast, I was using them as pants into Colorado, across the Rockies. But basically, just used them as shorts, and definitely out in the desert. Smart wool long sleeve shirt, which kept me very warm. In West Virginia, I picked up like an underwear shirt, like a classic like old man underwear shirt as well. Yeah, mother. For some of those colder nights. I also carried a pair of leggings that were just kind of like off-brand, but kept me very warm. Just some smart wool socks. I go for these little tiny ones. I had a pair of Darn Toughs with me, and again, like in West Virginia, I picked up when I was in Cumberland, I picked up like a big fuzzy pair of socks just in case, and I'm really glad I had them. These were nothing compared to that. And I just put all those clothes in this Granite Gear stuff sack. I've had this since like 2005. I just had a simple pair of North Face fleece gloves that did really well. Picked up a balaclava for some of those cold nights in West Virginia. It's very nice. And of course I had a standard beanie. And there it is, guys. That's the 2020 Trek 520. Made it across the country. Got about 6,000 miles on this bike. The Ortlieb mount, that's what the bag clicks onto. Got a Garmin on here. I actually lost the Garmin that I had on the trip, which totally sucks because I like looking at those stats. But this is the Garmin Edge Explorer, I believe. So a little bit of an upgrade there, which is pretty sweet. The bike held up well. I did have an issue with this brifter. I guess the paddle portion of that broke inside there. When the cable broke, it snapped a piece of the plastic part. I guess off of that, or I don't know, whatever. Everything held up pretty well. That's the Brooks saddle, guys. I got about 18,000 miles on that thing, if you could believe it. And some sap on there from Utah, which drove me nuts. But yeah, that's how it happens. I did have a pedal crush in on me, and I got that fixed in Pueblo, Colorado. I got some Marathon tires on the Schwalbe Marathons on there. Not one flat tire on it. And not only that, guys, I put 4,000 miles on these tires on the trip, but these tires already had 1,000 miles on them. So that's 5,000 miles on these tires. I rotated them once at 2,600 miles on the trip, so that would be 3,600 miles on the tire. And they're still really holding up. I think if I was to leave on a tour right now, I would go with these tires. it would be a question in my head how long I could get, but at 5,000 miles, I think I'd like to push them as far as I can. I think they still have some pretty good tread on there, and lasted me very well, very well. $40 a tire, I think that's pretty modest for the job that these tires can do. But that's it. Got a kickstand on there. Put a kickstand on because it's just a lot easier to prop the bike up. You know, when I'm dealing with cameras and drones and stuff like that, I can't be like laying it down or not getting a shot because I don't have the bike to lean it against. But it was very helpful, and very glad I had that on there. 2 water cages. I did have 3 on there, but one broke, I guess, in shipping. I did start off with water bottles, but the one top broke on the other one. The other one was starting to get a funny smell, so I just figured I'd go with Aquafina bottles, which are bigger. I figure I can get more water in the same amount of space. That's it, guys. Trek 520. Did a good job. I really beat the hell out of it. As far as camera setup goes, guys, I went with a Ulanzi case and just like a simple selfie stick. It had a Star Favor microphone on top of it, and that's hooked up with like the GoPro audio adapter. It's a little bit bulky. I just had a pretty cheap little tripod on the end of that. It made it easy for setting up and just doing those ride-by shots. But yeah, I'm looking to make advancements in the future. Having a tricky time finding what audio equipment works for me. However, I did pick up a lapel, and we're gonna go from there. See if it works. See if it works a little bit better. I did carry a reflective triangle on my pannier. I picked this up in 2014 from a small company in New Hampshire. Been with me ever since. It feels a little bit weird leaving on a tour without taking it. You know, I mean, it is some sort of protection, and it is very, very visible. I also carried a Patagonia men's sweater coat with me. This thing really made the trip for me. I couldn't have done the trip without it. A lot of cold nights there in West Virginia and Missouri. I slept in this coat. It was just a very valuable piece of gear. I'm glad I had it with me. I use that coat not every day, but I mean a very high percentage of those days, you know, in the morning and at night. After Durango, I really stopped using the Apex Torrid and this coat. And, you know, once I hit the desert, that was it. You know, I don't think I wore a coat all the way to the coast. But I'm very glad I had it for, you know, 80% of the trip. I needed it, and yeah, very, very glad I had that with me. So that's going to do it, guys. That's what I carried on my 2021 4,000 mile coast-to-coast bicycle adventure. If you have any questions about any gear I used, leave a comment down below. That'd be great. If you like seeing videos like this, if you could please hit the subscribe button. It really helps out the channel, and it helps with bringing more adventures in the future. Thanks again, everybody, for your positive support, and we'll catch you on the road.